All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that seriously feels like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood screenplay. It's a completely cinematic tale. We're talking astronomical success, a sudden, sheer drop from grace, and now, a highly polarizing return to the spotlight. This is the Icarus arc of James Franco. For nearly 2 decades, the guy was literally inescapable. He was a constant presence on our screens, on the red carpets, and even on university campuses. But then, the flashing paparazzi cameras captured a very different narrative. So, let's look at the timeline, the court documents, and the actual headlines to figure out exactly what happened here.
James Franco was once one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but what really happened to him, and where is he now? The answer may surprise you. It's a question that has been quietly lingering in the background of the entertainment industry for years now. How does an A-lister, someone nominated for the absolute highest awards in cinema, just suddenly vanish from the mainstream American limelight? To really understand the crash and his completely unexpected modern-day resurgence, we first have to understand the sheer height from which he fell.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The Hollywood Golden Boy.
Rewinding the clock, we go back to a time when Franco was considered the absolute golden boy of the entertainment industry. He wasn't just a teen heartthrob. He was widely regarded as a true generational talent. He could just effortlessly glide between stoner comedies, deep indie dramas, and massive superhero blockbusters. Just look at the milestones. His meteoric rise is undeniable. In 1999, he breaks out as the charismatic Daniel DeSario on the cult classic series Freaks and Geeks. Boom. By 2002, he hits global, household name fame playing Harry Osborn in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. But he wasn't content just playing the blockbuster sidekick, right? In 2010, he delivers this incredibly grueling, visceral performance in 127 hours, which lands him a Best Actor nomination at the Academy Awards. And then he absolutely cemented his status as true Hollywood royalty in 2018, taking home a Golden Globe for directing and starring in The Disaster Artist. He was building an empire that seemed completely bulletproof, sitting at the absolute peak of his powers.
But his ambition didn't just stop at the edges of a movie set, not even close. Beyond acting, Franco had amassed an estimated net worth of $30 million. And what did he do with all that wealth and influence? Well, he really cultivated this reputation as an eccentric, extremely prolific academic. The guy was pursuing advanced degrees simultaneously from prestigious places like UCLA, Columbia, and NYU. He was publishing poetry, teaching film classes, opening his own acting schools. He seemingly had the world at his fingertips, projecting this boundless creative energy that the public just found endlessly fascinating.
Part 2. The dark allegations emerge. However, that whole narrative of the quirky, brilliant Renaissance man, it was about to completely fracture. Because behind the scenes of all that prolific output, a very different story was taking shape. In January 2018, the Los Angeles Times published a massive bombshell expose. The headline read, quote, 5 women accuse actor James Franco of inappropriate or sexually exploitative behavior. Now you have to remember the timing here. This report dropped right in the middle of his awards campaign for The Disaster Artist and right at the absolute height of the Me Too movement. These allegations sent total shockwaves through the industry. We're talking about a man who had literally just stood on the Golden Globe stage wearing a Time's Up pin, abruptly being placed at the dead center of a massive public reckoning.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific, harrowing nature of the claims made by the women across different projects and years. The scrutiny had actually begun a bit earlier, in 2014 when he admitted to messaging a 17-year-old fan on Instagram to meet at a hotel. But these 2018 reports went much, much further. Women alleged that Franco created hostile environments on set if they refused to go topless. A former girlfriend accused him of pressuring her for oral sex in a car. And perhaps most disturbingly, former students claimed he held sex scene classes where he allegedly removed female students' protective vaginal guards while simulating acts. Now, it's important to state that Franco's legal team immediately and vehemently disputed all of these allegations, publicly calling them inaccurate.
Part 3. The Studio 4 Lawsuit. So, the court of public opinion was one thing, but these allegations soon materialized into a very real formal legal battle. The controversy centered heavily around his now-defunct film and acting school, Studio 4, which had locations in New York and LA. In October 2019, the situation escalated from news headlines straight to the courtroom. 2 former Studio 4 students, Sarah Tither Kaplan and Tony Gall, filed a class-action lawsuit against Franco and his business partners. The complaint alleged a deeply toxic environment, claiming the school was used to foster a boys' club culture. Essentially, they argued it created a pipeline for the personal and professional sexual exploitation of young women, all under the guise of education and industry access.
And this brilliantly illustrates how serious things got. This wasn't just a tabloid rumor anymore. This became case number 19 STCV 35156, officially filed in the Superior Court of California in Los Angeles. The plaintiffs brought forth formal claims of sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, fraud, and false promises regarding the actual tuition these students paid based on what they claimed were heavily misleading opportunities. It was a comprehensive, undeniable legal challenge that directly targeted the core of his entire educational enterprise. So the absolutely crucial point here is how this legal battle actually concluded. Fast forward to 2021, and the parties reached a settlement. Franco and his partners agreed to pay over $2.2 million. That is a massive sum. It was split between resolving the individual sexual exploitation claims of the named plaintiffs and a wider class action fraud case for the students who paid tuition. But it is incredibly important to note that, as part of this agreement, the defendants officially continued to deny all allegations in the complaint, though they did acknowledge in a joint statement that the plaintiffs raised important issues. Later that same year, breaking years of total public silence, Franco appeared on a podcast and made his own admissions. Neutrally speaking, he stated that he had indeed engaged in sexual relationships with students from his school. He also revealed that he had been struggling with and actively undergoing treatment for sex addiction since 2016. He framed this entire period as one of intense personal reflection. He stated that the scandal, while painful, effectively forced him to completely halt his life and confront his past behaviors head-on.
Part 4. The Hollywood Exile.
Now, despite the legal settlement and his public admissions, the professional fallout was absolutely swift and brutal. The Hollywood ecosystem, which used to celebrate literally his every move, rapidly slammed its doors shut. And honestly, nothing highlights this sudden exile more starkly than the severing of his most famous creative partnership. For 20 years, James Franco and Seth Rogen were the ultimate Hollywood duo. They churned out massive comedy hits together like Pineapple Express and The Interview, but in 2021, Rogen publicly stated, point blank, "I have no plans to work with him." Losing your closest comedic collaborator, who also happens to be one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood, well, that essentially cemented Franco's immediate removal from the A-list circle. Consequently, Franco stepped entirely away from the big-budget American blockbusters that totally defined his early career. For years, he completely vanished from domestic theaters. Instead, he quietly turned his attention overseas. He started working on low-budget independent films and European cinema, projects that really never found, or honestly even sought, a mainstream audience here in the United States. He was definitely still working, but he was firmly operating in the shadows.
Part 5. The Controversial Comeback.
Now, Hollywood is an industry that absolutely loves the second act, but this modern comeback we're seeing, it's undeniably strange. After nearly a decade away from the major studio lights, Franco has begun a deeply polarizing return to the public eye. Let's move to and see how this builds, because on one hand, you have his deeply unsettling social media presence. He's posting these bizarre, cryptic TikToks to 500,000 followers under the handle @JamesFranco2319, wearing a Bruce Robbins t-shirt and outright claiming he thinks he's being watched. But then, on the other hand, you have this very real professional resurgence. He's starring in the Italian film Hey Joe and then making a highly publicized, completely relaxed and confident red carpet appearance alongside his girlfriend at the 2026 Cannes Film Festival. It is a completely surreal mix of internet oddity and high-fashion European prestige.
And look, that Cannes appearance, it wasn't just for show. It marked a very tangible business return. In 2026, it was officially announced that Franco landed a role in John Rambo, a major, heavy-hitting production from Lionsgate. This is it, his official return to big studio movies. In fact, if you look at his IMDb page right now, today, he has 9 upcoming projects listed. Despite the skeptics, the lost high-profile friendships, and the incredibly severe allegations of his past, he is clearly a man fiercely determined to rebuild his cinematic career. Which leaves us here at the very end of this explainer, with a lingering and, quite frankly, provocative question about the modern entertainment landscape. Can a fallen star ever truly wipe the slate clean? We've seen his astronomical rise, his severe, industry-shaking controversies, and now his highly calculated return. So what do you think? Will audiences actually buy a ticket to his redemption, or will Hollywood's memory prove way too long to ever let him fully fly again? Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep questioning the stories behind the screens.